Greetings everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Enhance Your Ability to Perceive Energy, attuned to the energy field of flowers to receive accurate spiritual guidance. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder and CEO of the Shift Network, and I'm really blessed to be with you here today because I have long really relied upon intuition as a key way to navigate life, business, relationships. But my ability to perceive energy has never been that strong. And so I'm really curious to learn from a real expert in this. His name is Tyler Odysseus. He's taught for Shift before. He's a senior quantum touch instructor and trainer and retreat facilitator. And he's really done a deep dive into cultivating the ability to perceive energy as a vehicle to open up your intuition and these other channels of extrasensory perception. So with that said, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. It's always an honor to teach through Shift. I love your network. I love everything you guys do. So I'm really excited for today to share some fun things with everybody.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm going to get to participate directly
Yes, you
myself.
are.
And I also want to let everyone know right up front that we are going to have a brand new program with Tyler. He taught before for Shift to rave reviews. People loved his program. So we're
Yeah.
going to do a new one called The Power of Energy Perception. We'll share a little bit more about that towards the end of the hour. So
Yeah.
Tyler, why don't we begin with a little bit of your journey into energy perception and just generally the sort of higher octaves of healing and like what led you in this direction? So I think you're also kind of have a more practical bent to you that sort of might not have been your natural inclination to go in this direction.
My background in originally was a computer science degree, and I was a corporate guy. But when I was a kid, I could see energy. And I think that most children probably can. The kids that I know, they can see energy. And the key is to allow that ability to develop and especially to not shut it down. And I was very fortunate that my mother didn't shut it down. And so when I would tell her, hey, I see this energy field on a tree or something like that, she would just say, that's great, Tyler. And then, of course, I did join, school and then the corporate workforce for a while. And that ability just faded into the background, partly because nobody was talking about it. And then about 15 years ago, I just dove feet first into energy work as a career and began learning everything under the sun and studying it and doing it. And within a few weeks, I was able to bring back that ability to see energy. And as I developed the skills further, I took really careful notes on what I was doing. So I started teaching energy healing. Actually, it was 16 years ago. I started teaching energy healing. It'll be 15 years in September. And teaching every single month, mostly energy healing courses. But then in the last 5 years, I've started to teach seeing energy, how to use your intuition, how to expand your intuition. And it was really a fantastic process to see people develop the ability who thought they didn't have it or maybe didn't have it. And at the end, they're able to really fluently see energy and also expand their other intuitive abilities. So I'm gonna do a little guided process for people today, give people an experience of what it's like to see energy. It's just been a super fun journey. The more energy work you do, the better you get, but you don't even need to know any kind of energy work. You don't need to know Reiki. You don't need to know quantum touch. Anyone can learn to see energy and expand not just perception, but also auditory, sensing, and one of the most important ones is the sense of knowing. So I'm excited to share at least a taste of that today and let everybody have at least something to get started with, even just today. Yeah.
Great. Well, as you said, a lot of people feel like, oh, it's just a gift that I didn't receive. And so
Right.
maybe share a little bit about what you've seen in terms of what you have to release in terms of stories or beliefs or
Right.
even habits to start to open up to this capacity.
I fundamentally believe that it's a human ability and that the percentage of people who can see energy is right along the lines of the number of people that can see. So, there are certain people who are born blind or deaf. And unless you have what's called third eye blindness, which is that something like 0.5% of people or something, everyone else can learn to see energy. And the people who don't have the sight exactly can expand all their other abilities even more. So those people end up being sometimes the most intuitive. And I'm going to teach people 360 degrees, every single kind of energy perception that I'm aware of, all the six senses, the seventh sense, on and on. And I just know that everybody can learn to do this. It's not just a gift that one person is born with or one person isn't. It's more that someone was born with it and perhaps that ability was nurtured or even just allowed to flourish on its own if someone felt like doing it. And that was my case. And then when I brought it back, I built all these tools to make it better. Took careful notes, built this course 5 years ago. I've expanded. I spent a long time refining it for you, Stephen, for this particular audience. Just knowing the crowd at Shift, I really customized it for you guys to make it even more effective at teaching everybody how to do it. And I'm just really excited about it because when people start to see energy, it expands their spirituality, their connection to the universe, and even their compassion. And so it's a learnable, trainable skill, and it has a lot of side benefits as well.
So let's assume that a lot of people who are drawn to this call don't have that ability online, or that they're reactivating it. So where do you usually start?
Well, we start with perception because it's the most fun. So I'll give you an example. If you take a look at this bouquet of flowers here, first thing that comes to you, just look at the energy field. Try it, Stephen. What do you see? And if you think you see nothing, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more regular sight, but it
Right?
just has an uplifting quality, sort of more kind of lighter pastel, maybe
Okay.
kind of energy.
Now try this. Pick this guy right here. Pick this leaf right here. Oh no, this one up here. Okay.
Hmm.
Or this one back here. This one. Take this one. And now imagine a flow going up, like a water flow going up inside of there. And see if you can just use your imagination to see that. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Now, if you could see a little field around this little yellow guy here, what would that field look like?
Around the yellow flower,
Yeah, around the yellow flower.
it's kind of more greenish to me.
Okay, perfect. And let's take a bit different one. I'm going to get to a point here. So look at the rose there right up front there. Is that carnation? Sorry, carnation right there up front. I'll give you a little better view.
Hmm.
And then just, okay, now what I'm seeing is a little tiny energy bulb coming right out the top, like a little, almost like a triangle looking, like little cone shaped thing going right out the middle.
Hmm.
And if you were going to imagine an energy field, just make it up, what would you see?
Yeah. So shape-wise, you're asking, or
Shape
more?
wise, color wise.
Had kind of an orangish hue to it, and
Yeah.
sort of felt. I think maybe it's like a little bit more pyramidal kind of
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
around it.
It's right on the whole thing. Okay. I'm going to set this down now. So, what I've found, and this was really consistent, is that when you make it up, and you're the perfect example of this because not everyone's going to see it right off the bat, but when you make it up, 19 out of 20 times, what you're making up is what I'm looking at. So I
Hmm.
saw that same orange. And for those of you at home, I'm hoping you were looking at that. And if not, rewind and look at it. And you'll see that what you make up is often what someone who's looking at energy is actually looking at.
Hmm.
And the reason is that what's happening is that when you engage your imagination, you give yourself permission to see because you're making it up. So there's no societal constraints, there's no subconscious messages of this doesn't exist or you can't see this. And it's really kind of subliminal because you don't actually need to tell anyone energy perception doesn't exist. All you need to do is not talk about it. And if the parents don't talk about it, if the schools don't talk about it, if nobody talks about it, subliminally, subconsciously, this message gets imbued in there that it doesn't exist or you can't do it. So all you have to do is start unprogramming it. And one of the first ways is to expand your creativity. So yeah, it's going to be, yeah.
That's really cool. So it's like releasing the disbelief that we sort of we take in some disbelief when people aren't speaking to something, and then we're like, well, I
Yeah,
guess I'm not seeing it either.
you're releasing the disbelief. And then simultaneously, you can strengthen your third eye and your creativity by using it. So it's a little bit like weightlifting. So what you just did was like 5 reps, right? And so if you do that week by week, you get stronger and better at it, and you keep kind of improving. And then all of a sudden you'll see more and more. And what happens is after a while, this switch flips, and all of a sudden it no longer feels like your imagination, and you're able to just see more fluently and let go and be like, okay, it's a lot about trusting, because a lot of times that first blink, what happens is your third eye opens like like an old school film camera, they would go like that with the shutter, and the third eye will go boom, boom, like that. So if you look at energy, try this. Look at this crystal. What energy do you see? Ah, you had it. Okay, I'm putting it away. See, what happened right there, Stephen, is your third eye went boom, boom, and opened and then closed.
What's amazing, you can see that.
Yeah.
And I guess the implication is that I can see that as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can learn to see it. Absolutely. And so the first thing that came to you would have been the right thing. So if you saw anything, did you happen to remember what
I
you
was
saw?
more in the purple kind of zone, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. Well, I actually, there's also sort of like a beam coming off the tip there. You can kind of
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, yeah. So there's a lot. Yeah, it's an expansive experience to get to develop these abilities, a really joyful experience. One of the
Uh-huh.
things I invented that I really love, and we should try it together right now, is a little breathing pattern I call the J-shaped breath. So it's kind of the shape of a candy cane. What you do is you inhale through your nose right up the center line in the shape of a J, and then you go forward to your third eye. So if you're willing, Stephen, try this with me.
Okay,
So
sure.
take a big breath just through your mouth and then blow it all out. Push all of it out. Now breathe in through your nose, but super slowly, inhaling really slowly. And then float your awareness back a little bit, back to the center of the brain. And now start nudging it forward towards the center of your forehead. Still breathing in your nose. Yeah, that was good. And then exhale. Breathe normally. But even right there, that kind of yawned your third eye. Will do one more. So just a big deep breath. Breathe it out. And then breathe in your nose super slowly. Floating your awareness back to the center of the brain. And then nudge it forwards towards your forehead, forwards, forwards, forwards. Still breathing in your nose. And then let it go. Okay. Now look at the flowers. Oftentimes after doing that, it might be a little brighter, a little shinier second time around. That's your third eye starting to open and become more receptive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it sounds like part of it is like taking a little bit of the performance pressure off of it is like, oh, I have to get the right answer for a while. You're just
Exactly.
trusting that whatever comes is valuable.
In fact, that's one of the exercises we do is just thanking yourself for every answer you get.
Hmm.
Like you look at something, you're like, great, that's great. And if no matter what comes to you, just like that's great. And you just kind of constantly positively reinforce it. And then the part that I like, is all the other things too. Like the scene energy is super fun. And you were talking about how it's like letting go. It's also letting go of a preconceived notion of what it's going to look like. It's going to be more like, so I have a glass of water here. It's kind of like a blue translucent. And if I take, my smartphone here, I turn on the light and I shine it through this glass. This is sort of what scene energy looks like. See the white light coming through there?
Hmm.
It's like an overlay, right? So you're going to usually be even more translucent than that. You'll still be able to see me in the background, right? But you'll have a color overlay. And that's a lot of fun. And then eventually, after been practicing for a while, it can get really kind of dense and you can see almost
Hmm.
solid looking objects. That takes a while. That may not happen during the 7-week course, but you'll have the tools.
Hmm.
Then after that, there's a lot of other useful things you can do with it besides seeing. Seeing is good for flows and analysis and fun. But then there's also knowing, right? And that's where it gets useful.
Well, let's get to that. I want to spend a little more time. So you're saying that basically that the first phase, it tends to be kind of like a little bit more sort of vague and sort of like not sort of second guessing that's part of the
Yeah.
natural perceptual arc that you're going through.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't expect to see like big bright colors popping. It's more like a faint sense of something.
It could be pretty bright. It could be pretty bright, but it might feel a little weird and almost feel like you're not supposed to see this or feel
Hmm.
like you're not allowed to. But really, the thing is, energy's everywhere and it's happening everywhere. And it's like having blinders on, not being able to see energy. Now that I can see energy, I don't know how I would get along without it. And I can come into a situation and get a lot of information about the situation itself just by looking at the energy, including like properties, apartments I've rented, buildings where I've decided to rent. The last time I was living in Pasadena for a while, and I remember when I rented in Pasadena, I had determined I wanted to move to that specific building because the energy there had this huge positive upward vortex. I just wanted to live in this place that had this vortex. Whereas conversely, when I first moved to Pasadena, I had forgotten to look and I had gotten an apartment that had the opposite. It had kind of like a grounding effect, which was great, but also kind of like made me sleepy when I was there. And I was like, well, it's fine if all I do there is rest. But, it just once it's like a whole nother spectrum. It's not a visual spectrum. It's not like ultraviolet, but it's another whole realm of things that you can look at if you just decide to look at them.
Hmm.
And then once you decide to look at them, it gets easier and easier. It's part of it is just making the decision to start looking.
Hmm.
That's the biggest decision to make.
And circling back to the breath that you were leading, the sort of arcing the J up to your third eye. So
Yeah.
how valuable is it to sort of like do certain practices to center your awareness there before you're attempting to read things energetically?
It's helpful and it and once you're really good at seeing energy, you don't need to do that. But what it does when you're first starting out is it opens your third eye, kind of pries it open for you so that you have more access. And what we're doing when we're breathing through our nose is we're stimulating nerve endings that are connected all the way up into the brain, and we're stimulating the pineal gland. By brushing our awareness back through there, we're brushing across the pineal gland. All the piezoelectric crystals are starting to stand up, and that's directly connected to your third eye. We're also going right through the pituitary gland. So we're doing an energy process through the brain to the third eye to widen that energy center. And that just makes it easier. It's not mandatory though, but I will say that people who've done a lot of energy work training, who are already Reiki people or quantum touch people or whatever modality, there's 100 energy healing modalities and they're all fantastic. Whatever people are already doing does give you a leg up when you're learning to see energy for sure. And some people will spontaneously start to see energy who've been in practice for a while simply because their third eye gets so wide open from all
Mm-hmm.
their work.
Do you
Yeah.
find there's anything that when I did an intuitive training in my 20s, there was a lot of emphasis on sort of like grounding the lower chakras first before trying to read other people or situations, so you didn't kind of project out your own inner sort of karma into a reading.
Yeah.
Do you find that
And
that's also important with energy reading like
you
this?
know, there's a lot of different schools in energy work. And I've heard people say that, if you have a lot of emotions and stuff like that, that can cloud your auric field and it's kind of like looking through something. But I don't really go into that as much. I do think that it's helpful to do side trainings in, emotional processing and energy work, whatever modality you love, do that modality. Um, and then, emotional processing is important, but it's kind of like, here's how I would explain it. What I'm going to teach people is a powerful engine for seeing energy. And what you're talking about is reducing drag.
Hmm.
It's like if you're grounded and you're emotionally centered and you are a high vibration person as you do energy work, you're going to go faster with the engine I give you. So yeah, it is an important concept. It's not something I'm going to go into deeply in this course. I might do a little bit of emotional processing for like maybe half of one session, which would still be enough to get people started, especially because they have the recording. But yeah, I agree. It's an important aspect. In 7 weeks, I'm going to be going through 6 or 7 senses, full power, developing the engine, and
Hmm.
also removing the blocks and installing new programs to get people to see and to get people to know. Yeah.
Cool. Well, looking forward to more to come. Let's
Yeah.
circle back. I wanted to ask you about the flowers too, because we had an interesting
Yeah.
conversation before we started there, just about how flowers are a sort of a gateway into this. Why, what is it about flowers? It's a great practice ground for opening up energy
I
perception.
always start with flowers, and I'll do other plants as well, and then crystals, anything that's really energetically active. So flowers have life force energy, and they're also, pretty agnostic. So whereas if I was to like scan a person, it would be a little bit different, a little bit more involved. But a flower is just pure, like I'll take one out of here, for example. If you take one flower and you just look at that one flower, if you start to look at the energy field, you can see there's a little flow going up there, which goes right along where the water's flowing up, where the bottom is just soaking up water. And then here you can see sort of an expansion. And I see a bulb on this particular one. There's a little bit of an orange field that you notice on the outer edge here. There's actually a blue field, and then a green one farther out that fades into pink, kind of the same color as this pink. There's also layers of color. So starting with flowers is a way to build confidence, to get really good at it. And, some of the things we do is look at nature and trees and things like that, and crystals, and then eventually people as well. Would you like me to have a look at your energy field there?
Sure. Why
Sure.
not?
So let's see. I'll see if I can pin you to the front here for a minute. Okay. So now I'm looking at your field. And what I see right off the bat is a lot of gold, right? A lot of gold energy, which represents a very high vibration frequency. It's a very healing frequency as well. And then a lot of magenta. Right in the center, you have a bulb of magenta. Now, the magenta is basically love. It's almost like you love the people watching this video right now, and all these people that have been with you, many of them for years, right? So they're kind of, even though you're not directly teaching them, they're sort of your students, or you're putting this class together. You're gathering this faculty with these people. And that kind of comes through in the energy colors. And then there's also an aquamarine in the background. An aquamarine to me represents body mind connection. So, in other words, your heart center, your feeling center is connected to your thoughts. So, there's not the level of isolation that some people experience. You've kind of been able to integrate it at some point to where, when something comes up, you authentically feel your feelings, and you're pretty much you most of the day. You're the real Stephen most of the day. That would be my interpretation of it. But I don't even need to interpret it. I could just be like a lot of gold, bubble of magenta in the front, a few gold sparkles, and then in the back, which is like a layer deeper layer to the backside of you, a lot of aquamarine. So
Very cool. Well, I will take those in. It's a nice mirroring. How much do the colors that you perceive, are they sort of like objectively associated with certain qualities, like you said, like gold, like different reading,
yeah,
or is it vary some depending on who's reading, like they might pick up different colors or have a different interpretation?
you're spot on, Stephen. It varies a lot. So I'm not going to tell people what it means because everybody has their own language, and it really changes culturally as well. So if you're from a culture where a certain color means a certain thing, you might actually see that more often. And what's happening is your intuition is talking to you in a language you understand and in a color that you understand and that makes sense to you. So I'm not going to dictate this color definitely means this, because for some people that might mean that, but it might mean something else for someone else. So it's very individual. Someone might see, two people may see the same color and they may get a different meaning, and that's okay, because the meaning is what's important, even more than the color itself. Now, what I do find is that people who are culturally similar do tend to see the same things once they've had a little training. If one person sees green, somebody else sees green, somebody else typically sees green. Right. So there is a little bit of that, but the actual interpretation of what does it mean when you see a color? That's something I like people to build their own library. Some of the obvious stuff as an energy worker, if I see dark spots, there's kind of a universal thing for me. If you see a really dark spot, that just means needs energy. So as an energy worker, I do that. Or if I'm teaching like an energy work class and I'm watching someone's field, and we'll go over this in the course as well, where people are moving energy through their body and down their arms. I'm just looking for flow. So I'll actually intentionally tune out the color because it's distracting. And all I care about is binary. Is it there or isn't it there? and I'll just see kind of a yellowish, whitish flow going down someone's arm, or potentially not going down their arm, just based on whether the flow is working or not. And so a typical example might be if I have a student doing that, they'll be moving energy through their body. I'll say it's not going down your left arm. What's going on there? And they might say something like, well, I had a really bad, shoulder injury. And I'm like, all right, so give a little more awareness through your shoulder right there to get it flowing all the way down to your hand. So there's kind of practical applications like that of presence of energy versus not presence of energy is something that's pretty universal. Everybody's going to be able to see that. Anybody that's able to develop the ability to see energy can tell if it's there or if it's not there. Mm-hmm. The individual esoteric meaning is a little bit more open to personal interpretation.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like that's a primary layer is really seeing like where there might be blockages or absences of energy. And then are you also looking at different qualities of flow, or if things are sort of like, coherent or jumbled or things like that?
Yeah. And like the thickness of flow, the volume of flow, it really is like a river or like a fire hose that could be on kind of a low setting or a high setting. And also the way it travels, like Reiki travels kind of like a waving beam, moves really fast. Quantum touch travels more like a mist, like a crackling mist. If I was going to push quantum touch to the other side of the room, that wouldn't really be my approach, because it'd be kind of like trying to take a mister and push mist across the room, right? It's not going to happen. So I'd rather just place my awareness over there and then have the mist pop out of existence here and into existence over there, or use like near field quantum entanglement to get the energy across the room. Whereas Reiki, I'm just going to go and just send the beam right across the room because it travels differently. So
there's quite a lot of differentiation of different systems too. Really, it's fascinating.
Different energy work looks really different. Sometimes has different colors, and it's really funny too. One of the things I love about energy perception is how sometimes it can challenge your preconceived beliefs. I used it last Thanksgiving. I went home. And it was one of the biggest Thanksgivings we'd had in forever. And I had this goal of being a good friends with every member of my family and extended family. Right? So my brothers, sisters, stepbrothers, their spouses, everybody, right? And I had this idea, like, I'm not sure this person likes me. And this person probably does. And when I got there, I found that when I looked at the energy of the relationship, which you do by looking at this, bridge between the two, I was wrong in some cases. So whatever my logical mind had came up with, I was like, oh my God, my stepbrother's wife thinks I'm awesome. That energy bridge is all pink and magenta. There's no issue there whatsoever. That was totally in my head, So, and then my stepbrother apparently had some beef with me. I had no idea. We sorted it out by the end, but I'm like, how come there's some gray in that energy, in that
That's
relationship?
really so you're saying that there's kind of like the field specifically between two people, then
Yes.
there's like an energetic bridging, and that has a different set of qualities and flow
Absolutely. It's got colors in it. And if it has dark lines or, gray energy in there, it's, that's a problem. so or it means that there's disharmony or whatever of some kind. There's in various interpretations, and then kind of outside the scope of this course, but you can work on that with energy as well. You can work on the relationship. But
really fascinating. Well, I could just keep asking questions because you're a great fountain of knowledge, but I know you wanted to lead us in an experiential in addition to what we've
I
done.
want to lead on the experiential, and I wanted to say one more thing about knowing before we hop into that, because I think everybody's going to be really blissed out afterwards. And that's just, the knowing skill, even though it isn't the one that kind of pops and is the most fun, is actually tremendously useful. And that could be used with relationships as well. But I've been building, that one is something also that I had to build from scratch. So, I regained the ability to see energy within a few weeks of starting to do energy work professionally. And knowing was something I had to really build from scratch. And I did layer upon layer of study. I started with yes, no answers, and then moved up to full sentence answers, and then moved up to continuous connection. And a few weeks ago, I taught a 6-day class in New York City. And I fly in on Friday, and then I teach Saturday through Thursday, and I fly out Thursday night. And I got this connection going with the universal knowledge database, says fly Thursday. over and over again. And I'm like, all right, all right, all right. I'll fly Thursday. It's an extra hotel night. You know, I'll be in New York City. Fine. I'll go to the Met Museum and enjoy myself. I flew Thursday, and Friday was the day there was that giant IT outage, this Cloudflare outage, and like half the flights in the United States were canceled. And I avoided that whole mess. I went the day before because the knowing and the guidance was helping me. And it's been helping me with that. And it's been helping me just have compassion for people, just the way that, you know, the way that you can start to get an intuitive sense of knowing of where someone's coming from and how to connect to them and see their side of things. And it's just been really expansive.
Hmm.
But
Great story. I love that. That's where it gets super practical.
it
Missing
was
out.
super practical. You know, I was like, great, you know. And on the
Great.
flip side, Stephen, I was coming home. I was supposed to fly on Delta. I had all these Delta points. My intuition's like, fly United. And I'm like, but I have all these Delta points. It's like, fly United. So I flew back United, and Delta was the only company that was affected for more than a week. So the Delta flights were still canceled a week after, you know, when I'd finished teaching my course, but United flights were going right on time. So I flew home right on time. And I was like, oh, that was super practical.
That's a great story. Awesome. Well, let's
All
dive into
right.
the experiential you wanted to
Let's
lead.
do it. Let's do it. Okay. So I'm going to lead you guys, if you're willing, on a little guided meditation here. So take a second, close your eyes. Take a big deep breath with your eyes closed. And begin that J-shaped breath, breathing in through your nose, floating your awareness up and back, back up to your pineal gland. Imagine that the energy is flowing over the pineal gland like a wind, like a river. That as it does, those piezoelectric crystals are starting to stand up and turn on your antenna for the universe. And then as you exhale, breathe out your mouth. Imagine that you're blowing on an ember, and that ember is your pineal gland. And that ember gets brighter and brighter. And on the next breath, you inhale through your nose. You begin floating your awareness slowly back up into your brain, back into the brain. And then you're nudging it forwards towards your third eye. You can feel your crown beginning to yawn. And as your crown opens, you can sense frequencies downloading from the universe, positive, joyful frequencies. And as they arrive, those frequencies are stimulating your third eye, your pituitary gland, the bridge of your nose. Your third eye is yawning and widening. And you begin to feel so energized that you begin to float up out of your body, up through your ceiling, up out of the room. You can see your body resting in your chair or on the ground, wherever you decided to rest, up through the ceiling, up into the sky. And as you float up through the entire atmosphere, you can see your neighborhood. And as you do, you can feel your third eye beginning to yawn and widen. Near the top of the edge of the atmosphere, you can see a beautiful aquamarine portal. And this portal is inviting you in. And this is a portal to the realm of energy perception and the third eye. And as you pass closer to the portal, you pop through, and on the other side, you find yourself at the entrance to a crystal cave. And you decide to walk downhill. You're surrounded by jungle, and this crystal cave is lit by crystals that have ambient light behind them. And every crystal is sending the perfect energy to each energy center in your system. It's sending energy to your root center, your second center, your creative energy center below the navel. The crystals are sending energy to your solar plexus. They're sending energy to your heart. And as it reaches your heart, you feel so much love, and you begin to experience memories of times when you felt so much love. And you start to relive a memory now where you felt so much love, love for every single person in your life, but especially this one person. And as you relive that moment, hearing the same sounds and seeing the same sights, you feel a welling up of compassion and joy and connection to yourself. And then you gradually return to the crystal cave. And as you walk further down, you find a crystalline pineal gland. It may have been constructed thousands of years ago, and each edge shows each piezoelectric crystal. And you decide to brush your hand along this crystalline statue of the pineal gland with both hands. And as you do, you can feel your own pineal gland lighting up, widening. Your intuition is expanding, and your ability to perceive beyond the cave begins to expand as well. You can feel the dirt on the edge of the cave. You can feel the ground above with its soft grasses. And you continue now to walk past the pineal gland crystal. You wave goodbye and you find a gentle staircase up, and you walk up this beautiful palatial marble staircase up into a soft mossy floor, clearing in the jungle. And here you find a beautiful hammock to rest, and you decide to rest in this hammock. And as you do, you can feel all the flowers talking to you in loving tones and sending you frequencies for healing, for empowerment, for joy, for pure joy, for love, for spiritual expansion, and for the connection to the universe. And as you feel yourself on this planet, you begin to feel the rotation of the planet. In the hammock, you start to rotate around. It becomes dusk and the stars come out. And you're looking at the Milky Way galaxy. And you can feel your connection to everything and every human being on this planet and all of nature. And there's a continuous conversation between you and nature, and feeling so satisfied and nurtured by the starlight frequencies. You're so joyful as the moon rises up. And as it does, you feel even more love. And you remember that moment again where you felt so much love. And now, sitting up from this beautiful hammock, you decide to walk through the mossy grass and float back up above the jungle, waving goodbye to the crystal cave where the pineal gland crystal resides, knowing that you can visit this place again whenever you like, floating up, 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 up to the sky again. And you find the portal this time is made of magenta, loving energy. And you feel so much love for the place you just visited. And you pop back through and find yourself above planet Earth. And the energy is different here, but it's so welcoming. It's your home. And you float down, down, all the way down, past the clouds, past your neighborhood, floating in your ceiling all the way down into your body, reconnecting with your body and breathing in through your nose for one last J-shaped breath, holding a slight smile as you feel that cyclical energy in your mind and in your third eye begin to rotate, floating forwards towards your crown, towards your third eye, yawning in the third eye. And you wake up now with a smile. Everything in the room a touch brighter.
Great. Thank you. That was
Come
very,
back from your
that's beautiful.
thanks.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Stephen.
How would you recommend that sort of you work with? Is that like a regular meditation or is sort of a tune-up you do occasionally?
I do that occasionally. Yeah. And that guided meditation was channeled. So I did not know what I would do exactly before, but I knew we were going to visit the realm of intuition. There's lots
Mm,
of things to discover there. And
mm,
what you're doing as you connect with the flowers and the plants when you're up in that mossy field is you're starting to make it okay to talk to them, to hear their voices, to hear the frequencies and sounds, and to start to see the energy
mm.
that they're emanating.
It sounds like from your experience that opening up the sight, the clairvoyance is also very connected to the other clairs as well. So as you
Yeah.
expand your palette, each gets stronger.
And it goes the other way too, Stephen. So if you practice hearing energy, it makes your sight stronger.
Hmm.
If you practice tasting energy, it makes your sight stronger. You practice knowing, it makes your sight stronger. You get your sight stronger, it makes your knowing stronger, it makes your hearing stronger. You
Hmm.
can think of it like an area of volume, I should say. So your flat sheet of paper doesn't have a lot of volume, right? You've got this direction and that direction. You start to add a third dimension, a fourth dimension, a fifth dimension. You're widening your perceptive abilities, yawning it at all angles. The more intuitive you get, the more you can see.
One area that we haven't covered much today that I think is often a primary focus for people has to do with health and being able to perceive where there might be imbalances in the energy
Mhm.
field and that sort of need to be filled in or complemented or addressed in some way. I wonder if you can share a little bit about how you can apply the energy of perception, perceiving energy
Yeah.
to health.
I mean, I do it mostly in terms of presence or absence of energy, but also in terms of flows and also sometimes in terms of colors. So I have, for example, recently, if I scan someone's field and I'm looking, to do an energy work session on somebody, I might scan them. I'll do two senses. One sense I'll do is perception. So I'll look at their field and I'll see, is there a dark area? And maybe that's just somewhere I might send quantum touch or do some yin energy work. But also, I might get an intuitive, empathic sense, a light one. Nah, some people are worried they might get an overwhelming one, but that's one of the things we'll cover is how to not get overwhelmed by what you're looking at or what you're feeling and sensing. So if I sense, nausea from someone, that might mean that there's a digestive issue or something like that. And I won't sense it full power. I'll sense it very, very lightly. But that sensing other people's sensations, and the other way I work, and this one is actually a healing ability. If you get this one down, is I'll empathically sense someone's pain at like 0.1%. So that's one of the ways I know where someone's hurting. So I might be like, okay, I can sense a tiny thing in like their mid back, a tiny thing in their right shoulder, or a tiny thing in their left glute or their left knee or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
And I'll feel it at 1%. And I'm like, well, I sense this, this, and this. And then they'll confirm, what's going on. And then I send energy there. And then, but also just the act of noticing it, interestingly, is also healing in and of itself.
Hmm.
So and even noticing your reaction to it. It's a different way of working, but energy perception itself can actually be healing. And I do use it in one of the modalities I teach as one of the ways that we work is by continuously noticing something when you yourself are in a very open energetic state. So
Hmm.
it's definitely a complementary skill to energy work. It's not what we're going to teach in this course, but we're not going to teach energy work in this course exactly, but
Great.
it's,
Well,
yeah,
let's dive into talking more explicitly about your upcoming course, since it's really clear from this hour, like you have a lot of knowledge to share in this arena. And I love just how transparent you are about the areas that, you had to develop or that were naturally there. And I think that that's true for all of us, is that we just have to be honest about what's real right
yeah,
now and lean in. And so we're really excited for this program, and I know it's going to be super valuable. So it's called The Power of Energy Perception. Develop fluency in seeing energy with your eyes and intuitive senses for spiritual guidance. It's at the URL energyperception.com, energyperception.com. It's a 7-week program. You don't have to have any prerequisites or any capacities built. Tyler's really going to take you on a journey of development for whatever, from wherever you are. So, Tyler, I'd love for you to share first about some of your deeper intentions for the program and what people will come away with, and then I'll read out the module titles and you give us a preview of what's coming in each.
right, right. I mean, the intention is to get everyone's intuition as wide open as possible and do it in a really fun way, a playful way. We're going to get, more connected, more spiritual, more connected to the universe, more loving, more joyful at the same time, just by osmosis, because we're going to get back into that childlike, playful state, which is one of the things you need when you're learning to see energy again, is you're treating it like something you're playing with. You're just enjoying opening this new ability and allowing it to grow over time. So, yeah, I mean, I think we should just get right into the course models because it's really self-explanatory once we do that about where we're going with this and how we're going to use it.
Great. So module 1 is called Build Your Life Force Energy to Charge Your Third Eye and Discover How You Can Use Energy Perception in Everyday Life.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn like really basics of energy work, just kind of moving chi through your body. And this is important for expanding your third eye. So we're going to be sending energy to your third eye, also to your crown, and interestingly, to your solar plexus. The solar plexus is a much overlooked energy center in terms of energy perception. It's really like a feeler that goes out in front of you. And a lot of emotional perception, people think it comes from the heart. It actually comes from your solar plexus. And so if you get emotional information from another person or from an environment, that's where that's going to come from. And then the energy perception, the seeing part and the knowing part is a combination of third eye and crown primarily. I would say every energy center is powerful and important, including they all become like an antenna. So we're going to learn to charge yourself up, because if you can learn the basics of energy work, you can learn to send life force energy to that energy center and then use that to expand your abilities. So it's, if you already know how to do energy work, that's fantastic, but then also how to use it in everyday life. So for example, I mean, my example of, about the, you know, the airline travel day is a perfect example, but you can use it for a lot more than that in terms of getting sort of intuitive guidance. You can consider this, you know, from a more connected part of yourself. And then you become that more connected part of yourself. And it's intuitive guidance about what to do as minutely as you want, or as kind of high level as you want. In other words, hey, you know, I'm thinking of starting a new career. What would be a good idea? And have your intuition give you some thoughts about what would be a good idea. And then use that as one aspect of your decision-making process. So yeah, you're still going to do logical analysis, of course, but then you can also add in that spiritual or that intuitive component, I should say, that intuitive component to help you make decisions. So.
Great stuff. Module 2, boost energy perception with sacral energy and art, and see and explore remote energy terrains.
Yeah. So sacral energy is your creative center, right? And we were looking at the flowers, we were being as creative as possible. And so there's a huge overlap between creative senses and intuitive senses. If you think of a painter like Picasso, right? How's he coming up with this painting? He's using his intuition at the same time. So there's a very large overlap between creativity and intuition. And one of the things we're going to do is expand our creativity, because by doing that, you're going to expand your intuition. The two are very linked. So we're going to do some energy work to the sacral area. That's why we learned how to do energy work a little bit in the first module. We're going to do some energy work to the sacral area. We're going to connect it to the heart so that you're loving your sacral area, but also loving your third eye, loving the answers you give in particular. In other words, some people, you know, have their creativity shut down, usually more around singing or something like that. We want to reawaken and affirm your creativity and affirm what you're seeing. So, you know, I've had one of my students called it the most loving course and the most self-loving course they'd ever taken, because it's really about nurturing. We're going to nurture your creative center to help you creatively see.
Very cool. Module 3, expand your intuition with the 7 senses of energy perception, empathic sensing, and clairaudience.
Yeah. So here we go into feeling, right? So we're empathically feeling like, okay, let me sense an emotion from a flower, an emotion from something else. You can get an emotion from anything. For example, I have this cactus here who's always very grateful. And you can see if you can sense an emotion from the cactus. This cactus is pretty happy. I just watered it, right? Any cactus that just got water is a happy cactus. But you can empathically sense an emotion. Stephen, you're doing it correctly. That was it. You got it. You got the feeling right there. So that's one of the senses. And then we're also going to start listening to energy. And that's going to come across as a sound that you kind of hear in your head. You don't hear it like hallucinatorily. You just hear it kind of in your head. And it might be a ringing sound or a buzzing sound. And we're going to practice listening to energy. And as we mentioned before, every sense that you develop helps you with all your senses. So whether you want to learn to hear energy or not, by doing that on purpose, you're going to expand and strengthen the muscle that is your energy perception.
Module 4, discover the secret that prevents you from seeing energy and explore auras and energy wings in humans and animals.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of fun. You know, in module 3, we're going to look at landscapes. I forgot to mention that. We're going to look at the energy of landscapes. Every week, we're going to do some fun perceptive thing. And in module 4, we're looking at energy wings of animals, of people. And that's just going to be a really, really fun exercise. And yeah, you're going to learn the secret that stops people and how to disarm that secret. and how to disarm that block and how to get all those things out of the way so that you're just running full speed and can get all the way to energy perception, full seeing energy, full colors, everything. Yeah.
Module 5, discover the universal knowledge database and enhance your ability to perceive energy in your body through the senses.
This is a good one. We're going to start feeling, this is what I was talking about a minute ago, where you can empathically sense someone else's pain potentially, or tension or discomfort. That's what we're going to cover in that module. And then we're going to get to the concept of, hey, all of these senses are interconnected and they all interlink into the universal knowledge database. And then we're going to start doing exercises to link ourselves to the universal knowledge database. And that's what I used, for the flight, was the universal knowledge database and my kind of ongoing permanent connection to that. And so, when I just access the connection, it's like an internet connection that's always there. So this is where we start to get into really advanced intuition at that point, where you're connecting to basically all knowledge.
Module 6, drop into pure presence to see and sense energy, including the energy of relationships and animals, and telepathically communicate.
I love it. So there's a little bit we talked about the Thanksgiving story. We're going to talk about how to analyze relationships with energy work. This is also a tiny little mini energy work class here. We're going to learn a little bit about yin energy. We're going to do a little bit. We're going to drop into states of presence through breathing exercises. It's really, really fun. If you were going to sneak into one of the classes that I was teaching, Stephen, this would be the week to drop in on, because it's just experientially really fun. I know you won't go by Stephen. You'll give a secret incognito name. It'll say anonymous and we'll all know it's you. But yeah, that's the week that one of the weeks I'm really looking forward to, because at the end of it, we're all just so blissed out. That's probably one of the weeks people are going to watch over and over again, because the exercises do drop you into a super blissful state of presence. And then from that state of presence, you'll find that automatically, without having to do anything else, you suddenly can just be aware of all kinds of stuff. So for example, when you drop into a really deep state of presence, you'll suddenly be aware of your whole house. That's like the first thing that happens. You'll be aware of, you're like, okay, on the coffee table 3 rooms away, there's a stack of papers that are slightly disorganized that I need to go file. And you'll be aware of that and everything around you, and outside and the trees and, everything. So the deeper you get into presence, the more aware you become automatically. And we're going to get into that. And then also give people some exercise so they can take it home and keep working on that, because it's an important skill to build. A lot of fun.
And finally, module 7, see energy on all levels of being and receive advanced techniques for your daily practice.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to make sure everybody has everything they need to take this home with them. And, this will be any last questions people have as well, because we're doing a Q&A every single week. And this is where, I give people the program. Okay, you're going to practice this, 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 and this, and just keep doing it. And the people that keep doing it, they'll get back to me a few months later. And most people get to the point where they can see energy by the end of the course. Now, not everybody, right? But a decent percentage of people, I don't know, 65%, at least, people can see energy fluently by the end of the 7 weeks. And people will come back a couple months later, and as long as they keep practicing, they've got it by then. So I get those emails all the time. I kept doing the exercises and it popped a month after the class. And that's where I give everybody the program, how to keep studying, next steps, areas that people may have gotten stuck, how they get unstuck in that area, because people have different areas they got stuck. Sometimes what they need is to learn some energy work. Maybe they need to take a yin class or a quantum touch class or something else, or another shift class, so there's something people need to do sometimes to get to the next level. And we're just going to talk about how to use it in life, how I use it in life. I gave you some examples today, but it goes way beyond that. So, I mean, yeah, at that point, once you have that connection to, it just makes you a more powerful person. So once you're like in communication with everything, you can start to vote. You can be like, hey, since we're talking, you can start to vote. It's a powerful, wonderful send-off that I'm going to give everybody for that day.
Well, what a great program. And I have to say, I'm grateful for your background in computer science because it does feel like you've got the computer programmer's sensibility of like how to break everything down in a very logical way. So it all makes sense in a coherent
Yeah.
building block kind of way. And so it's really helpful to be able to apply that to being able to perceive and work with
Yeah.
energies. So
Yeah.
again, it's all at energyperception.com. You get not only the 7 90-minute live sessions with Tyler, which are clearly going to be filled with a lot of valuable information and practices. You'll also be able to ask your questions live in those sessions. You'll get the recordings, both video and audio, because as he says, going back, working with the practices again and again is going to just eventually click in anything that you might not have gotten the first time around. There's word for word transcripts for every class that you can work with, study, and highlight. There's weekly exercises, a Facebook community to deepen your sense of connection around this work. And on the page, you'll see a number of extra bonuses as well. There's a PDF chapter from Tyler's book. It's called Energy Healing and the Art of Awakening. There's also an immersive video animated guided meditation. Sounds very cool. It's called Journey to the Energetic Realm of Your Soul Family. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that bonus.
I will. That one, you're going to love that one. This is the first time that I'm releasing it. And I did this with my video editor who's ultra creative. She's much more than an editor. She's a creative artist. And she brought in background video images melded together for a full length guided meditation to the realm of your soul family, where you go meet your soul family. So that little tiny meditation we did today in the class, it's like that in today's expose, and it's much longer. And you can do it quietly, laying down with your eyes closed, or you can watch the visuals, and it's tremendously immersive. And I'm releasing it first ever on Shift Network. People are going to get a downloadable or ongoing access to it, and it's you're absolutely going to love it. I'm so excited to hear the feedback on that one because I know people are just going to love that one and watch it over and over again. And it does also have some energy training in there, so it's really just I'm so proud of that. The person who was working on it with me must have spent something like 35 hours of creative work putting in all the different backgrounds and the layers. We went back and forth for months perfecting what is basically kind of like an animated movie, not animation, but it's kind of like a music video, but like a very peaceful, soothing music video with lots of images of plants and flowers and landscapes and your soul family meeting you. And yeah, it's really a wonderful piece of artwork that I'm releasing first here on Shift Network.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a blessing to have that bonus. I mean, yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
incredible. And I also want to draw attention. There's an extra bonus folks get if you sign up right away by midnight. And this is our way to really encourage you to take the time now as you've been engaging in the last hour that you have the most information. You can go to the page at energyperception.com, tune in. And if you're getting a yes, then you get a special bonus today, which is a video from Tyler called Receive a Powerful Third Eye Blessing. Want to share a little bit more about today's special bonus, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that it's a recording of me just like this, basically doing energy work on you and for you for your third eye. So it's kind of sending energy to the third eye. We're going to do some breathing techniques like the J-shaped breath. And I want you to have that in your library because when you're practicing the J-shaped breath and you're practicing your third eye upgrade, this is a great video to watch an hour or so before the course. So each week you could watch it right before the course. You'll get a little bit more out of the course, or maybe the night before, but right before would be great because it is kind of an enlivening, wakening up process. And that's going to be a direct upgrade of frequencies to your third eye. And it will come through the video. Like just watching the video, the energy is captured on the video. You'll feel it. You'll feel your third eye yawning. So I'm really proud of that offering. And that's a good one to watch right before the course.
Awesome.
Especially if you're feeling like kind of in like a cerebral mode, you want to drop in, even just watching 15 minutes of it would help. Yeah.
Well, that's a great extra motivation to take the time to tune in today. And if you're getting a yes, to go ahead and get registered because you'll get that special, powerful third eye blessing from Tyler. So we're really delighted by this program. I know that it's going to be so valuable. We've also kept the investment very accessible. It's just three payments
Yeah.
of $128, or you can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. Course is going to start September 3rd, run Tuesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make those live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings and transcripts in the community as well. And on the page at energyperception.com, you'll also see there's a lot of great testimonials. Tyler's taught with us once before, and really great rave reviews. And we are really looking forward to not only this program, but future programs as well, since the reviews are great and really just a quality of and precision of information that I think you are just not going to find elsewhere. So really great stuff, and you'll be in really wonderful, loving hands, and you'll, I think, really make some serious advancement on your ability to perceive
Oh
energy.
yeah, for
So
sure.
we're delighted by it. So you're warmly welcome again at energyperception.com.
Yeah.
So Tyler, we're at the end of our time. You've been great today, super fun and very
Thanks.
practical, and glad I got to participate as well. And so anything you still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering doing the deeper dive into the power of energy perception with you?
I mean, just join me for the course. It's going to be so fun. You're going to have the recording of it. So if the time doesn't line up with your time zone, do that. And even if the timing isn't perfect for you, I'm going to be on the Facebook group answering questions. I was very active on there. The last shift course I did, I answered everybody's question, usually within half a day or less. So you're going to have a lot of access to me during this course. This is less than half what I used to charge for this course. So this is a super duper deal only through shift. And you're going to have ongoing access to it afterwards, which is super valuable because you can watch it again in a few months and you'll pick up on details that you missed the first time. So yeah, I would encourage you to sign up and join and keep it in your library. And I would love to have you there and love to see you there and connect with you all. It'd be great to have you.
Great. Well, thanks for that warm
Yeah.
invitation and just the empowering information you offer. So, Tyler, really great hour. Thank you all for joining. And if you want to go further into the power of energy perception, you can do so at energyperception.com and get that special third eye blessing when you sign up by midnight tonight.
Thanks for
So,
having me, Stephen. Yep. All right.